Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Double Pivot Podcast, our sixth edition. Sorry we ran a bit late there. I've just had a manic day, haven't sat down, having the kids after work, and it's just been a roller coaster ever since I really got up this morning. But I'm delighted to be joined by Jed and James. How are you both?
Fine, good. Steve.
Good. And James, what's that top you're wearing?
Oh, it's a little Miami wee black t-shirt Primark number, mate.
I seen them. I seen them in Primark. I actually thought that was a Scotland top. It looks like one from far away in terms of the badge and that. But look, the Double Pivot is obviously a podcast that takes different turns. We do keep it loosely about Celtic, other football matters, and stuff in between. And James, I want to start with yourself. I asked this question in work a couple of days ago. I think it was Monday. And again, it's I suppose a choice of taste, isn't it? Really. And it's, what would your last meal be on death row? Now, before we get into this, right, I want you to think about it. So we were asking, well, I was asking a few colleagues in work, you get the usual answers, steak and all that. And I turned to a friend and went, what about you? What would you choose? And without hesitation, he looked at me with a serious face and went, quiche and chips. I've never heard anybody wanting quiche for one, and never mind having it on your deathbed. But James, if you had to put thought into it, I know I'm putting you into the spot right now, but what would your last meal be on death row?
Starters, probably the hardest one. Maybe go a wee chicken pakora. Wee chicken pakora starter, or haggis bonbons, either or. Main course, chicken fajitas all day long. And then a wee caramel, apple, cinnamon pie. Nice and simple.
So straight off the bat, no thought needed. No needed there.
That's
no
it.
Chips, no mash, no nothing in with that. No.
I'll take chips for my fajitas, but aye, that's me sorted.
Nice.
And then send me off to get the injection.
I went with obviously starters. I like crispy potato skins. We bit of barbecue sauce, bit of salt and vinegar. I'm all about that life. We steak for my main, peppercorn sauce, but beer battered onion rings, mashed potatoes, mushrooms, the whole shebang. And then to finish it off, a sticky toffee pudding. And Jed, before you pop your clogs, what would you like before you hit that chamber?
Well, I think according to the chart and the last few days, I could die anytime. So, I would go an Indian route, chicken puri to start, and various chicken dishes, chicken chasney, chicken jalfrezi, something like that. I wouldn't be able to have a dessert because I'd be too full.
Monty comes in. He would have a large doner calzone, key lime cheesecake, and a litre bottle of Smirnoff. Very precise as well. Them calzones, that's the pizzas folded up with kebab in it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had that once over here at a house party and threw my poked everywhere. Beer and a calzone doesn't mix well. But look, just another quick. Come on here, Jed. Not a real. Listen, if it takes to be a real man having a pint of beer and a calzone, I'll do it tomorrow and I'll prove it. But another one as well. Again, another question that gets people talking. James, if you had a dinner party and you could invite 3 people, footballers, politicians, famous people, influences your life, could be alive, could be dead, who would the 3 people be?
Henrik Larsson.
And why? You have to give a reason why for each specific individual.
Well, Henrik Larsson for the stories. Margot Robbie, probably his flavour of the month now for the stories. I thoroughly enjoyed Barbie and Wolf of Wall Street, so I'd like to hear the stories about them. And probably Billy Connolly for the patter. I think that'd be a good night, and then if I play my cards right, maybe get a nice wee ending. I know. Hopefully Henrik will tuck me in.
I think you mean Margot Robbie tuck you in, man. Not there for the stories, like. And Jed, what about yourself? Doesn't have to be footballers.
No, I've got a different route. Tiger Woods.
Why?
Just as what he's done in golf and also what he's done off the field. Mickey Flanagan. Here's one that just to have some intelligence, and I think she's fantastic. And it's no looks, it's Anna out the chase. I think she'd be great to go for a pint with. She looks as though she's up for it, up for a laugh. and ask her all the quiz questions like him.
Who was that? Sorry,
Anne Hegarty at the Chase.
you're taking the biscuit here, Ted. You have to be taking the biscuit here, like Anne Haggerty. Yeah. Everyone in the universe. Aye, Anne Haggerty. Let's bring her in here. We'll play a bit of the chase while we're eating a wee meat. I mean, James went for Margot Robbie. I mean, and you went for Anne Haggerty. That's mental. But
Not
like,
much between them, is it?
not much. Just, Michael Ross. My favourite fate flavour is tuna mayonnaise. Monty, Bobby Sands, John Paul II, and Craig White. Craig Young, Wagyu steak washed down with a final pint of tears. Wow, Law's ego straight in. I think that's what James was thinking, to be fair. But we'll crack in. We'll crack in with the podcast. That was a good wee side kind of topic there to have a laugh before we start. And we'll kind of talk about the game at the weekend. I know they covered it really well on Monday, but James, we haven't really given our 2p worth on it yet. And I want to start with the Mieta situation. Now, I say situation, he scored a hat-trick, and I think as well in pre-season, I believe he scored a hat-trick, didn't he, when he was through the middle in one of the games? Yeah.
I think it was by the games in Japan.
It was, yeah. And I think I've seen this question come up again, should he be a striker? Now, the left wing position is what he held under Postecoglou. I mean, he does the work rate really well. He does the kind of defensive side of the game, and obviously the final product is a lot to be desired in most cases, but you look at him at the weekend, he took his first goal well, he took the touch. Usually he would flash at that, then he put it past the keeper. The header was a bit scrappy, and then the third goal was just Dyson Mieta all over in terms of what he can produce. But do you see a case for him to be the striker? I know he plays there for the Japan national team, and he gets in the head of Kyogo, by the way, who doesn't really get a look in. So does Roger see him as the Jamie Vardy maybe of the striking force?
Potentially, but I don't think so. For me, if you were going to play Maida up front, it would probably need somebody alongside him, like Ida. And I think that perhaps could work, but I don't think we would see it. I know he scores a hat-trick at the weekend, and look, he played really well at the weekend. I'm not going to kind of slag him off, but even within scoring a hat-trick, he still misses a couple of absolute sitters. The one he hit the crossbar, he practically been underneath it. But in terms of being a striker, in our side being the lone striker, I don't think so. Look, I think we would all agree that Kyogo is the better of the two of them in terms of striker. And this style that we've played this season, it's no happening for Kyogo. And Maida, they're probably similar in how they would play up front in terms of wanting to get in behind, playing in the shoulder and things like that. So I don't see it happening. If he was doing it, and I wouldn't be against it, but it would need to be in a front two. No one playing half in the 10, but just two strikers, and it would be Ida and Maida.
This is coming from a guy who advocated for Kyogo to be number 10. Look how that worked out, James, eh? But Jed, you look at it. You look at it. I mean, as James rightly said there, look, it's a topic that comes up because he obviously scored the hat-trick. Kyogo hasn't been on form. A lot to do, in my opinion, is with that the wing play. They're not taking on their men, beating the final guy and putting that ball into the box early for him. He feeds of that kind of 6-yard area where he can pounce up and score with one touch. He's not getting that service. Mieta for me is brilliant in European football. Maybe you could play him as a lone striker up there. I do agree though that Kyogo is our talisman. He's our best striker that we have at the club. But unfortunately, it's just not quite working for him as of this season anyway. I know he came on against Livingston and scored. But as I said, their pre-season, Dyson scored a hat-trick. Livingston, albeit they're bottom of the league, he scored a hat-trick against them. And I think he actually started up on the left and Ida was in the middle. So he came from the left-hand side and produced goals that we needed eventually anyway to win that game.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand why you're asking the question to play him up front. I think he's there as an emergency backup, I think, for that. I think he is more suited out in the wing. I mean, he rattled the bar as well. He could have had 4 goals at the weekend. So, yeah, just keep it short and sweet for me. Only in emergencies should he be up front. I think there's guys ahead of him.
Yeah,
and plus, if he's up front, who's going to be trailing back? I mean, the amount he trails back to try and help it in defensive cover as well. So we'd lose that right away.
Yeah, and I think for our back four at the minute, cover is needed. And Izamieta does a good job at that and kind of bringing Greg Taylor out of trouble the majority of the time. But let's look at the performance set anyway. As I said, we covered it on Monday. But again, looking back on it, it's one of them ones. We're in the cup semi-final. Suppose we have to be happy about that. But conceding 2 sloppy goals against Livingston, for me, is criminal. They haven't shown any sign of form or any sign of any good play under Martindale in the last 4 or 5 months anyway. He's always complaining about his budgets and things of that nature, and the players lacking quality, and you could certainly see that. But they did trouble us on occasions, and it looked like every time they get up the pitch, they could cause us problems, whether that was long balls into the box or throw-ins or set pieces, which we all knew they would play for. But it is quite concerning that our back four couldn't deal with that threat. And I know they've got the likes of Nubile. They had, was it Tanguy up front? He was a handful. I think that was his name. And the likes of even Theo Burr from Motherwell causes a lot of problems as well. It seems to be that physical striker with a bit of pace Celtic just can't quite cope with. And you look at Scales, you look at Welsh, and look, I said it on Monday as well in the comments, it's a back four back two in terms of centre backs that would probably suit most SPFL clubs. Do you know what I mean? But for Celtic, it's not the level we should be at. And get into these final games, it's something that kind of fills me with not dread, but it's a bit of apathy in terms of what could happen, because they're fragile. It looks like they can see the set pieces at will. There's no organisation without Carter Vickers, and Livingston could have scored a third when they equalised, and that for me sounds alarm bells. And as I said, they kind of counter with a positive. We're through to the cup semi, but you can't ignore the kind of mishaps that we've seen during that game as well, Ted.
Yeah, definitely. Livingston, they are giants of a team. They are absolute mountains. In fact, even when they brought on the sub in the second half, I think he was 6'7", the guy they brought on. I put on the comments on Monday night, take the positive from the game. Thought Kuhn had a great game. I said Johnson had a great game, but him and Scales were at fault for the first goal. But I thought Johnson had a very good second half, and I thought Forrest done really well when he came on. But also on the defence front, as you're saying, Scales and Welsh doesn't work for me. I have praised Welsh recently, some of the games he's came on, but he's not physical enough for me, especially up against team like a Livingston team like that. They were playing a lot of balls over the top to try, and their first goal, the 2 goals that they scored, the finish was absolutely brilliant. The guys absolutely buried them. So credit where it's due, but it shouldn't got to that stage. Just silly defending, especially the second one. Matt O'Reilly gave the ball away. I didn't think he had a great game on Sunday. I know we're going to touch on that later, but there were more players below par at the weekend than should have been.
Yeah, and I think Paul McFarlane. Go ahead, Ted.
Yeah, I'm just reading that.
All our centre halves play brilliant with Carter Vickers, but when they play with each other, it's dog shit. I do agree with that.
Paul, I've mentioned that a few times as well. Paul, he with the first game when he came back against Motherwell when we scored late on to win, you could see he brought a total calmness when he came on in the second half. Carter Vickers is the number 1 defender that we have got by a country mile, and the rest it's who do you partner with. Now, again, I said on Monday night, I would have Lagerbielke in before Welsh. And I believe that the 5 or 6 league games that Lagerbielke's played, we have not conceded a goal when he's played. So,
clean sheet, yeah.
What's going on at Rodgers just doesn't like him, because if you're just stats, well, if your 2 centre halves are playing together and don't concede goals, what's the problem?
Yeah, I agree. And it kind of begs the question, what must Lagerbielke be thinking, James? Because he seemed to be out the door in January, and apparently Rodgers wanted him back and cancelled the deal. And there was whispers. I seen Lagerbielke did an interview with I don't know what outlet, but it was reported in the usual media outlets in Scotland, James, and he said he's going to assess his future in the summer, that he believes he can play in the top leagues. And look, you like a guy with a wee bit of confidence. And the thing that kind of baffles me the most is he came in the Champions League. Yeah, people may say it doesn't mean nothing, but he scored the winning goal for us to win our first group game in quite a while. Could he not have fed off the confidence that would have given him? And he also got his first Swedish cap, and I think he scored during that game as well. He was the Swedish Defender of the Year for his club before he joined Celtic. All the signs point to someone who's decent. And like Jade said, there the 6 games he's played in, domestic level, we haven't conceded a goal. It just seems that Rodgers doesn't fancy him. It seems that Rodgers kind of I think he played a bit of a cruel game, if I'm honest. He should have let Lagerbielke leave, because if Welsh and Scales can get in ahead of him, then the writing's on the wall for me. He's not fancied, and he didn't get off the bench against Livingston, even when, again, we were under pressure. You think you bring Lagerbielke on to kind of shore it up defensively, or maybe take one of them off. He wasn't having a great game. That didn't happen. He's sitting on the bench. He's a young lad. He's not getting a chance. What is the point of him being at Celtic?
That 100%, mate. In the when all that happened in January, where he was kind of out the door and then he was back in. When Rodgers was asked about it, like literally this exact scenario is the reason it was held on to. You've got Carter Vickers out injured, Nawrocki's out injured, so we've got an injury crisis at centre back. Why is he no playing? We've kind of agreed for weeks that Scales went off the boil. Look, Stephen Welsh, I like Stephen Welsh. I think he's solid enough. I think he's reliable. He was terrible at the weekend. I'm not going to deny that. He was terrible against Livingston. But this is why Lagerbielke has been kept. So if he's no getting a look in when literally there is no other options, then what was the point? Do you know what I mean? It was just absolutely bizarre. And the Carter Vickers thing, I get that. But Carter Vickers has been injured for the best part of it. It must be like near enough a calendar year if it isn't already. I know he's had a couple of kind of comebacks within that, but we can't keep going back to that. And look, the position in the summer, I know the summer window wasn't a great window, but it was a terrible window. But on paper, you could actually argue, I know we lost Starfelt, but you could argue that centre back is probably the one position that actually took care of. Starfelt went, you bring in Nawrocki for 5 million on paper without even seeing him, you think, right, well, fair enough. And then obviously you bring in Lagerbielke for, was it 3.5, and he's coming off the back of apparently a really good season in Sweden. As you say, he's won the awards and things, and then just don't really get a look in. Nawrocki comes in at Pittodrie, concedes a goal, partly at fault, back in, back out. Injured again, Lagerbielke, like you're saying. Look, I'm not going to rewrite history with Lagerbielke, because when he played, I was never massively impressed. But as you say, he comes on in the Champions League, scores a goal, hasn't been seen since. And this is where Rodgers coming out and saying we need him for cover for Carter Vickers. Well, Carter Vickers is still injured. Nawrocki's injured as well, and the 2 other centre backs are off form, and he's still not getting a look in. So if I was Lagerbielke, I'd be asking the question as well. I'd want to know the reason, because even if he did go out on loan, he could be playing in Italy now, and good, bad or indifferent, he'd be getting that experience and minutes under his belt, and he could have come back all the better player for it. But sitting in the bench doing nothing is just doing nothing for anybody.
Yeah, I totally agree. It is a strange situation that Lagerbielke finds himself in, because you always think when he makes an impact like that in the Champions League that he could probably come into the team and do something. And the confidence you must feel as a young fella scoring a winning goal at Parkhead in a Champions League game, it must be an incredible feeling, Ted. And like, well, obviously we spoke about Lagerbielke at length, but again, Anthony Dunn was in the comments. He was saying he was kept to cover CCV, but like James said, he's injured. So is Nawrocki. And then you're stuck with, and look, that's no disrespect, the Scales and Welsh still do a decent job for us, especially Scales this season. But it is just one of them situations. If he was playing in the Serie A, if he was playing in the Bundesliga, he'd be gaining experience coming back to us in the summer, potentially a better player. But we've let that opportunity slide by him. And it looks like from his interviews that he's done since that he's just once out the door.
I know. No, to me, I mean, I could be miles off the mark here. Is this Brendan Rodgers proving a point? This wasn't his signing.
It could be.
I didn't want him. But I mean, I hope that's not the case. But I just, like, it's all about opinions. I just think he's a better player than what I've seen than what Welsh is.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree. And to counter what you said about that, the point that maybe Rodgers could be making, Rodgers has also said on numerous occasions he likes coaching players that he's given. Lagerbielke was essentially given to him. And for me, Rodgers should be able to coach him to be a better player and a feature in the team more. But look, again, it's one of them things. But you mentioned Kuhn, Jed. He was on the right hand side. Obviously, Yang got injured. I thought for me, Nicholas Kuhn looked like a fantastic player against Livingston. I thought he was direct, he was mobile, he was athletic, and I thought it was quite telling as well that Rodgers mentioned the weight issue that he had when he came in. He lost his stone, which can affect you both physically and mentally. You're not be able to take the players on and kind of that burst of speed and that athleticism that he once had. But it looks like with the training regime that he's put on, he's regaining that kind of frame back again. He looked more explosive. He looked more confident within his own abilities. A fantastic assist for me at his first goal over the top. A kind of ball Kyogo would have loved to be on the end of. And if he can keep that up, and again, it's not, I don't want to be like, wow, he's going to be a fantastic player. But we all kind of wrote him off. We all kind of said there's something not quite right. But maybe it's one of them things. Give him 3 or 4 games, 20 minutes here, 30 minutes there. He started. He definitely been impacted for me. He was one of the better players on the day for Celtic.
Yeah, I mean, I think when he did get substituted as well, all those at the stadium certainly gave him the round of applause he deserved, because that was his best game that I've seen so far. He actually got a wee bit excited when he had the ball, because he was willing to take the players on, and we haven't seen that for it in him at all. So, was it somebody else said, I think he had 2 problems with his teeth and things that couldn't eat properly. So if he's losing weight, you know what it's like, your energy levels go. So of course that's going to affect you. And I just hope now he's turned the corner. We'll see at the weekend, because I think he's obviously going to start with Yang being suspended. So the proof of the pudding will be on Saturday against St Johnstone.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, Jed, as well, James, in terms of Livingston being a team of giant players, and the confidence we thought Kuhn was in get into the game. I was expecting him to cut back all the time and pass the ball away and kind of hide from the game, but it was quite the opposite. And the fullback that he had, I can't remember his name, but he was a tall fella, he was athletic, and he took him to the cleaners 9 times out of 10. And like Jed said, I was watching the football with my granddad like I always do, and we're going, he looks a player. There's something there in him, and if you keep that type of form going, that'd be fantastic. And if we bring it back to Kyogo as well, when Jota was taking the man on and getting round him into that kind of crossing area, playing that ball early across the 6-yard box, that's where Kyogo fed off it. If Kuhn can replicate the same thing, also making the assist he did to Maeda, then have the makings of a decent attacking option, especially when we're missing Yang, we've lost Abada. If Kuhn can come to the fore and show why we paid that money for him for Rapid Vienna, that's a good thing.
Aye, 100%. And I must admit, like you're saying, when the teams came out the tunnel and the Livingston players kind of lined up, it was like we were playing the Harlem Globetrotters. I think the weirdest one was about 7'5", and at the time I was like, that tends to be what we struggle against. And with McGregor not being in the midfield as well, I must admit I was a wee bit kind of worried. Obviously the performance wasn't brilliant, but Kuhn was definitely one of the ones that took me by surprise. Like you're saying, it was like a totally different player. He's been dead passive, just back the way and nice easy pass back, no actually committing to take a man on, and literally everything that he's done previously, done the opposite. And I must admit, when he get taken off, I was raging, which is a surprise for it being Kuhn. But obviously Forrest came on to be brilliant, and to be fair, when he was walking around the park, he did have a wee bit of a limp. But no, hopefully he can keep it up, because we've had a few players kind of maybe have wee purple patches this season, or you think they've maybe hit form again. So hopefully he can keep it up, and he will prove a good addition getting into the split.
James, you're right about him limping, because I think it was maybe 5-10 minutes into the second half. We sat in the Jockstein stand, my daughter and I, and Katie had said that he's holding his leg, and so I was keeping an eye on him. It didn't seem really affect his running, but anytime he stopped, he was holding it a wee bit. So I just hope that everyone's okay. So like you did notice when he was walking off, he was holding it. So I just hope it's maybe cramp.
Just a wee impact injury or something.
Aye, because he's certainly done a lot of running, probably the most running we've seen. So we just need to hope it's nothing serious, because our injury list is an absolute joke at the moment.
As low as Eagle said here, teething problems, teething troubles. So maybe it's that. I mean, a wee pun there. Paul McFarland's having fun with them as well. But let's talk about James Forrest. James, you rightly said he came on and he played well. Rodgers, like he always does in his post-match now, you don't know what to expect from him. And he came out with the kind of statement saying that Rodgers, Forrest quality-wise, is the best winger we have, which probably is true at the minute, at this moment in time anyway. But then it begs the question, why has he not been involved more? You obviously hear Niggles, the wee bit of injuries and stuff he had, but this has been a whole season type thing where Forrest hasn't really been featuring. He's come in, and I think what he said was the happiest he was when Forrest came on and made an impact. And look, that's all kind of well and good, but Nicholas Kuhn had a fantastic game. And would you start Forrest or Kuhn? Obviously, after these comments by Rodgers, he's free a spanner in the works with them, but would you start Jamesy or Kuhn in the next game against St Johnstone?
Kuhn all day long. Brendan Rodgers talks shite. Honestly, James Forrest's the best winger at the club. Best winger at the club, but he's probably he's probably made more squads than he has made this season. I think that makes sense. And also, what does that then say to guys like Palma, Yang, Kuhn? If he's the best winger at the club and he can't get in the squad and you're playing in front of him,
and not one of the oldest players in the team as well.
Aye, exactly. And see, to be fair, like you're saying, like, we talk about James Forrest as if he's fucking 96. He's what, 31, 32-year-old? I know it's old in terms of our squad, but I mean, he's no old for a football player. No. And to say we're using him sparingly is an understatement. If he's the best player in the squad, the best winger at the club, just absolute nonsense.
But James, what I noticed at the game, to be honest, I've not even seen the highlights of the game. When he came on, what I remember, he didn't really give the ball away. He kept it and he played some good passing, took it down to the corner flag as well, put some decent balls in. He didn't play any stupid passes that's going to, when we had players up the pitch that were going to leave us open at the back a wee bit. I thought he controlled the game when he came on.
I thought Forrest was brilliant as well. I'm not digging out James Forrest anyway. I think Forrest has got a lot of unwarranted stick over the years, but just that statement, he came away with that after the game because he's played well for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, whatever it was. Just, nah.
I know, I agree with
It's like the statement he said about Mikey Johnson being the best youth product that's ever come out of the Celtic Academy, albeit he's ripping up trees at West Brom at the moment. But in regards to Jamesy and Kuhn, who would you be going with against St Johnstone at the weekend?
Kuhn.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And then Forrest, on a good. Let's hope he's a super sub between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, no, it could be coming on to make an impact. I think that's what maybe Rodgers was meaning. His comment was strange, but look, you can't retract it now. And as well as that, go ahead, James.
No, I was just going to say, I can see Kieran Allen in the comments, and I think that is a fair point, getting him on for the last 20 minutes, half an hour. And I think that could be part of it, because to drop Kuhn off the back, he's by far and away his best performance in a Celtic tap would be harsh. And obviously Forrest, off the back of what he done, probably does deserve to be in the team, but obviously the both of them can't. Well, I suppose they can, but one of them would be playing out of position. So I think it's maybe just to keep both of them happy, but it's still a nonsense statement.
Just a comment Jones made there about Forrest can still do the job. It shouldn't be here. I think because he's homegrown as well, it helps with the European, isn't it, for the squad?
I think more his point there, which I agree with, was we haven't really strengthened the squad to come away from players like James Forrest, come away from depending on what Forrest can do, when we really should be. We really should be playing with wingers who, not leave Forrest kind of in the past, but not having the impact that we need him to have at this stage of the season. And we're banking on him to have at this stage of the season because some of our wingers have left and some of them are injured, like Yang and players of that nature.
But Stephen also as well. Where is he?
Did you think maybe 4 years ago? Go ahead,
it was only an hour of the game or something. But Kuhn certainly looked as though there could be a player in there. And Yang, over the last few games, he certainly was starting to show this, he could be a really good asset for the club. So there's maybe we do have the players there to take over Forrest's place. We just don't know yet because we've only seen them in a couple of games where you say, "Oh God, they look as though they could do something." They need to keep doing that over a longer period, and then we'll have a better idea.
No, I'd agree because obviously players like Yang have been a slow burner. And as I say, Labata's left, and Palma kind of flutters to the sea sometimes, albeit the stats are good. But Jed, you mentioned the player earlier, Matt O'Reilly, about not having a great game. I think since we've come back from the winter break, O'Reilly hasn't been the same player. And look, it could be a multitude of reasons, but everyone kind of points to the Atletico Madrid move, collapsing or Celtic rejecting the bid. But I think that Matt O'Reilly himself would have been involved in that decision-making process. I don't think he would have been kept in the dark. And if he wanted to go, he should have went. Look, if it's that reason mentally he's struggling because of that, then maybe the best thing would have been for him to leave. That's not me saying that's what he wanted. It just seems like there's a difference there in his form. He doesn't seem himself. He doesn't seem as kind of robust up and down the pitch, making an impact, getting into space, kind of just being a hassle to the opposition team. He seems kind of laboured. And I think James mentioned earlier, passive like Kuhn would have been in previous games and just letting the game go by him at parts. And it's not like Matt. And again, I'm not trying to piss on his parade. He's been a fantastic player this season in terms of stats and stuff. But have you noticed the drop off? Is it quite telling when you're at the matches? I haven't been to physical matches this season, but can you see it when you're there, Parkhead? And
yeah, you can. I mean, I can even go back to when we played Hibs. I think we beat them 4-0 or 4-1. It was a Wednesday night, around about October, November time, and there was a bit in the second half. He just let the Hibs player go right past him. He didn't bother chasing back, and I remember just roaring, saying, "What the fuck are you doing?" He just let him go past there. But then he done so many good things in that game. But just the odd wee thing, could it be that he needs a rest? Could it be something as simple as that? The guy is probably one of the first names in the team sheet.
Mm-hmm.
He's not had a settled midfield to play with. And then, so it could be he just needs a wee rest. I'm hoping it's just that. It just needs a wee rest. Well, hopefully this week we're obviously not having a midweek game. That'll give him a wee bit of rest. No doubt the player's got a couple of days off as well this week. And again, it's coming into the meat end of the season. So we need our top players to be at no worse than 80% for us to be successful this season.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I hope it's a kind of fatigue issue. And to be fair, James, Jed's right to point that out. He hasn't had much opportunity to get a rest due to the injuries within the team. Hatate been out, McGregor out now, Awada's been out at points. And he has been the one kind of carrying the can alongside McGregor, kind of the first names of the team sheet, playing 40 games a season and whatnot. But his form for me has been a noticeable drop off. I'm not saying it's dropped off a cliff. I'm just saying he's not his usual kind of creative self and getting into the box and getting on the end of crosses coming in. And if it's a fatigue thing, then hopefully it sorts itself out. Do you have any concerns over him? I mean, for me, the Atletico thing, I just pointed that out because a lot of people are pointing to that, saying, is he affected mentally because that move didn't go through? I don't believe so personally as that, because as I said, I think Matt O'Reilly would have been fully involved in that whole process, kind of from start to finish. And again, it was a loan anyway. But is there any concerns for you over this kind of debacle around Matt O'Reilly?
I definitely, and like you say, his form has kind of tailed off. I mean, prior to Christmas, Matt O'Reilly had been a joy to watch for most of this season, and up till for Christmas to
Did you do that on purpose? Did you do that on purpose?
A wee bit, aye. But since January, it's he looks a totally different player. I personally, I would put a lot more stuff. I think it's a fair assessment. The Atletico chat, and I said at the time, and look, this isn't me trying to claim I'm right, because I was proven to be wrong. But if Atletico Madrid had come in like they did and said for a loan, then Celtic, what would the benefit of that be to Celtic? So I think Celtic would just knock that back at the first instance. If they come in and they put the money down there and then in January, then it would have probably been a very different conversation. Again, obviously there's nothing to back that up. That's just me surmising. So there's obviously no weight behind that. But I think it would have been a different conversation, even if it was halfway through a season and we were in a title race. But Atletico Madrid, they'll probably be paying funny money for him in terms of wages. So I dare say that will be playing in his seat. And he'll obviously, I think it's fairly accepted they'll move on in the summer. But whilst McGregor's out, and obviously Hitate's been out for long enough as well, he's the one that we really need to be relying on in that midfield. He's the one kind of left that's kind of seen the course and distance before. So he really needs to get the finger out. And I agree, he's playing obviously a lot of football and he isn't getting a rest, but he's not really going to get a rest. Obviously, with the international break coming up, I don't think he was selected, as you were saying, so he'll get a couple of weeks there, but when he comes back, we really, really need him to hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Smell the Govek pointed that out there. He's out of the Danish squad, so 2 weeks of rest coming up, and hopefully that benefits him.
And what's the update? Because there are various rumours going about McGregor, CCV, attack, that. So, does anybody know what the update is in these guys with their injuries?
I think McGregor is after the international break. I don't think there was anything in the. I don't think there was anything in the season chat. And I seen a thing. I don't know if it was true. It was just I actually think it was on Facebook. That said he was hoping to have Carter Vickers back in training either more this Thursday, either Thursday or Friday, and he'll probably be available after the break as well. Obviously, I don't know if that was true or not. It was just what I read.
Well, after the break is the Easter Sunday game at Livingston. Do you really want to have these guys playing in that pitch?
That's true.
No, by the plastic pitch.
If the guys are fit, Hatate, McGregor, and CCV, I wonder if they're going to arrange a close gate game for them to try and help with their fitness, because I personally would not risk them at Livingston.
I think one of the biggest issues that we've seen this season is rushing players back. We've tried it with Carter Vickers so many times during this season, and he's broke down 2 or 3 games later. I think we tried it with Hatate at the start of the season. He picked up an injury, I think, before the start of the season. He came back again really quick, and then again he broke down. McGregor's different because it's his kind of first kind of time out. But I agree. I would 100% not risk them at the Tony Macaroni or the spaghetti hat, as people call it. I would keep them and rest them and train them up as much as you physically can. And like you said, the closed door games, the bounce games, is something that happens at Lennoxtown quite often, because you hear the likes of Monty's mentioning James McCarthy playing in these games, Kobayashi playing these games. So there are something that actively happens behind the scenes, and I hope they do use that to the benefit, because I think we've made the mistake of, we see the headlines of Carter Vickers coming back, James, and we see the headlines of maybe Rio coming back. But see, once you see them on the pitch, you realise they're not match ready, they're not match sharp. And then, as I said, they're 9 times out of 10, it ends in another injury. So for me, the rehabilitation process, you need to just follow it to the letter and wait until the physios give the all clear.
100%. Like you're saying, I can't remember if it was this season or the tail end of last season when Hatate came back, and he had a wee bit of when he came back, he didn't look anywhere near, obviously, his best. I know that's down to match fitness, but it seemed to take him a wee while to get up to speed, and we don't really have that time for that to happen. So we're going to, in my opinion at least anyway, we're going to need these guys fit and firing as soon as possible. We've seen it with Carter Vickers, even with Hatate, like you're saying, we've rushed them back before, and they've ended up out for weeks, if no months at a time. So I think it's just going to be a risk we're going to need to take, to be honest, because we're getting to the stage where we're behind and we're running out of games quite quickly. So it's just going to need to be kind of grin and bear it, I think.
Yeah, it's something, as you said, the risk will be took somewhere in terms of them players. But look, Jed, Celtic, I mean, among their pearls of wisdom, have brought out a Celtic, what is it, the Irish Origins, Celtic Irish Origins range. And to be fair, it is quite smart looking. And it was quite funny. I had a laugh on our group chat. Ross and McGinty, who were on Monday, were giving it like, why are they bringing out stuff? Why are they making it the fans put their money in there and put their hands in their pockets to pay more money? And then you fast forward 24 hours later, that's actually quite nice. I might go and get that. So it's quite funny how Celtic play with your emotions like that. But look, I think for myself, anything tying Celtic to the Irish culture is a good thing. I think that sometimes it's forgotten that how closely Celtic are tied with Ireland and where kind of Celtic originated from in terms of oppression and and things like that. But that's a whole political issue. But again, it is a training range. I mean, there's tracksuit tops, there's zip tops, there's polo tops, there's fucking trousers. You know what I'm trying to say here? A lot of merchandise is up for sale, and it is quite smart. But I also think that it's a bit of a slap in the face to fans who have paid for free kits for not just themselves, could be kids, relatives. You go to the superstore, you have to spend on Bears, Hoopy, and all these things for kids to keep them quiet, and then they throw out a wee St. Paddy's Day kit, and you know fine rightly it's going to be snapped up. But the money they're asking for it, the money we have in the bank, and it's let's go to the river again, see how much we can get. Yes, it's nice, but again, it's not really warranted in my opinion.
Well, one person who won't be spending a penny on it is me. As I said in the chat, I don't like it. Everybody seems to like it. I do not like it at all. Last night, my wife and my daughter were talking about it. They too like it. They think it's really nice. And I'm like that. No, I'll not be. I like getting some of the training gear. I certainly wouldn't be buying it. I just don't like it. I don't know what it is. In my opinion, it's one of the worst strips I think I've had in our tops. I don't like it. Now, I know I'm going to get shot down for this, but it's just not for me.
No, I get that, and as I said, it's one of these things, James. People will like it, but you have to understand the uproar as well, and the cheek of asking for what is it, 55 quid for these bits of merchandise, and like Jed said, it's for some, and others it's not. And I pointed out the quick mind change that Ross and McGinty had, which was quite funny. You even had a laugh about it in the chat, James, as well. I think you mentioned what Anthony McGinty said, but I can't quite remember what it was. But you look at it, and as I said, for me as a proud Irishman, it is nice that they're recognising it, but again, they're using it as a money spinning operation. And I've seen someone put as a Twitter post that the free kits that Celtic should have released. It included the St. Paddy's Day version, and do you remember the what is it, the one with the faded out hoop, the badge, the white one on the hoops, it was faded out. And then the battle green one, that would have been a nice kit range, but we've added like 4 or 5 to that, and more money in the bank. And what are Celtic actually going to do with it? That's the question.
That's it. They're not daft. I mean, like I say, I think this is your 5th kit this year. I think that tap you're talking about, the kind of weighted out one, I think that is for the start of this season. And again, that's another one that I don't think has been worn. I don't think we ever will wear it. This one we've brought out yesterday, that's the same as well. It's not going to get worn. And that's, as I say, that'll be 5 kits this season. So you're probably averaging it out. I know this one, I'm sure it's a wee bit cheaper. I don't think they're all £55, but you're probably averaging it out at about 60 quid a strip. So you're talking £300 if you're buying them for yourself. If you've got Wayne's, you're probably another £200. So you're basically paying for a season book again. Yeah. And it is mental. And look, I like it. Cheltenham was good to me yesterday, so I probably will end up buying it as much as I can complain about it. But that's it. They've just kind of, that's how they get you in it. And like I say, like the 3 kits we've released, the home kit, our actual home kit, is absolutely horrendous. I don't think the away kit is too clever either. I actually quite like the 3rd kit, the thumbprint one, but I know obviously a lot of people don't like
James,
that.
you don't like the black one?
I don't know like it. I just think it's like pretty much like a black t-shirt. I don't think there's anything.
I think that's what people like about it.
Aye, fair enough.
And by the way, it's maybe an age thing as well.
No, I was just going to say, I think the 2 kits that we've brought out that we won't wear, I think we would all agree, obviously, that the hoops that we've brought out, the kind of white out one, that's nicer than the home kit. And then for me personally, I would say this one that we brought out yesterday is nicer than the away kit, and probably the 3rd kit as well. So they know what they're doing. They're not daft.
And you know what's nice? When you go into the superstore now, it's the retro tops, because my daughter was buying a few of the retro tops, the C.R. Smith, the yellow one, the green one. Some of them are really nice for the 80s, or the one, the centenary year with the wee button collar. That was a cracking top. So it was. So you do see a lot of folk at the games now with the retro tops on, and that's a whole new market. And the club, I always felt, were a wee bit late getting to the market with that. When other clubs were selling the retro tops, they were late to it. and it does seem to be successful because there is a lot of really nice tops that we've had, and I mean also as well is this the last year with Adidas? Are we due?
I'm going to tell you.
I think it's renewed next season, Jeff. So
again, I was just thinking, is this one where Adidas can think, we can get a wee bit more money out here with Celtic? Two will make money here before another comes in.
Yeah, but I think if Celtic had any wits about them because of the TV deal that we have to suffer in Scotland, you'd renegotiate and get a better terms out of Adidas. I think it is a good thing that we have them on board. I think McGinty pointed it out to kind of round it off in this one. For Adidas, yes, it's money spent on operation, but they involve us in this kind of process. It's what they do usually with the top end clubs like Bayern, all these type of clubs. So again, it is money, as I said, but Celtic are being included in that kind of higher bracket, James, and you have to recognise that sometimes because you look at Aberdeen, they're Adidas, but they're just the gut rat. Do you know what I mean? They just get a strip where they don't get involved in these creative ideas or different things during the season. So it is a positive in a way, slightly.
The Aberdeen away tap, to be fair, is an absolute stormer this year, the kind of Northern Lights one. But Adidas must be making an absolute fortune off us because it genuinely feels as if we're bringing out a new training range pretty much every Monday. It's like you open up Twitter and you're seeing a new range. Genuinely, it must be like at least once a fortnight. And it's a full new range, trackies, jumpers, tracky bottoms, everything. So they wouldn't be doing it if they weren't getting a return on it.
Yeah. And see as well, we're talking about the Irish roots there. Who is your favourite ever Celtic player from Ireland and why?
Oh, there's a few, but the one I'll probably stick out, Paddy Bonner. Just, in the 80s, and then he had a fantastic Italia 90 for Ireland. But we've had a few good players. I mean, we had Chris Morris, the right back, who, I don't know, he's grand. I must have went for a pint with an Irish boy. I think that's how you get picked for Ireland. North Ireland with Anton Rogan. We also had, he played in the cup final centenary at Alan McKnight. You guys probably wouldn't even know Neil Lennon yet. There's never even thought of him. There's Anthony, sorry mate. But definitely, Paddy Bonner for me.
Yeah, and I do want to come to the comments here quickly. Swindle comes in. I've tuned in late and clicked near the start. Immediately into Stephen, mid-sentence, absolutely slating and horrendous sounding last meal shout, quiche and chips. This is the only show in town. Thanks very much. Anthony Dunn comes in. Let's see, Neil Lennon, McGranda, I think is it Chris Morris you were saying there, Jed? Maybe he trying to say that?
Yeah, Chris, he was a player.
Yeah, Pat Bonner, Anton Rogan, Neil Lennon. James, what about yourself there? I mean, before I get to me, but who would be your pick as the top Irishman?
I'll go a wee bit different. I'll go a name that's not been mentioned, and it is a bit different because it's only here in loan. But Robbie Keane came in an absolutely horrendous season and a pretty bad team with a pretty bad manager and won a player of the season and deservedly so that year. I went out to Parkhead the night he signed. Obviously, there was thousands there and we had tickets for Rugby Park. So we traipsed up to Rugby Park the following night and watched us get beat 1-0, which totally killed the mood. So, but no, in terms of the impact he made, he was absolutely brilliant. Then we went to, I think it was East End Park the following week. We just kind of followed Robbie Keane until we seen him score his first goal. So I'll go Robbie Keane.
There's a shout for Paddy McCord. Anton Rogan, he'd fit in nice since he misses penalties as well. But no, again, Robbie Keane, as you said, came in the Mowbray era. I think, 17 goals, 16 games overall he had. Very good goal scorer. Goal scoring return. I mean, for me personally, I have to go with Ed McGeady. What age I had been? So he burst on about 2003-ish, 4-ish, when Martin O'Neill was still around. I think it was maybe 7 or 8, and just watching him do his skills, the McGeady spin that he talks about a lot. The first guy in Ireland to get a 5-star skill move in FIFA and all that kind of talk. But I think for me, just watching him, as we talk about wingers and lighting up the place, Aidan McGeady was that. This the epitome of someone to get you on the edge of your seat. And I know he left to go to Spartak Moscow under a kind of a cloud and that, but look, he was with us for 4 or 5 years, gave great service, and was a fantastic player for both the national team and the club team, which he represented Ireland and Celtic. And I just thought he was excellent. And it's just seeing him destroy Rangers on countless times. And I think towards the end, he was finding the Scottish League too easy, which is a good sentiment or statement to say. But McGranley comes in, Charlie Tully, Kieran Allen, Sean Maloney, he wasn't Irish. Monty, Mick McCarthy, another good shout. What about, Jay, what did you think about the impact that, I mean, you might as well mention him. You mentioned Robbie King. What about Roy King? Do you think his impact at Celtic was kind of obviously overshadowed with the defeats of Clyde and all that type of stuff? He was coming to the end. He wasn't himself.
There are two things that spring out to me about that. Yeah, the first game against Clyde when we got beat, but then his first derby game at Ibrox, he was absolutely phenomenal. He was unbelievable how good he was in that game. And he could have played with a suit on. He just read the game so well. He used his experience. And he was great. But he said it was a chance to come up here and he wanted to give it a go. So it was. Yeah.
And every time I've heard him speak about being a Celtic, James, he's actually liked it. I think he did an interview with the Overlap. And there was a headline made because he said there was a couple of idiots in the dressing room, and that was kind of a negative thing about his time, and it wasn't. He was just pointing out the dressing room dynamics, which you do as an ex-player when you're talking about it, being open and honest. And I think that, like Jed said, he was honest. It was funny. I don't think Gordon Strachan, did he want him? I think that Roy Keane said he didn't. He came up to him and said he didn't want them or something. There was something along them lines. But like, it was Dermot Desmond signing, I think it was. But I think Anthony Dunn said it. He's an icon in Irish football terms, and obviously what happened at the World Cup with him and Mick McCarthy, funny enough. Where does his time stack up with even the likes of Robbie Keane at Celtic?
Like Jed said, when I think of Robbie Keane, that is the two games I think he as well. Obviously, the Clyde game is him and Doobie take a flak in it, and then the game at Ibrox. I think it was Barry Ferguson, wasn't it? He was up against and they absolutely schooled him. That's the two that spring to mind. He only was it only one goal. Was it Falkirk he scored against? I'm sure he only scored one goal for us. I could be wrong there, but I'm sure it was. But no, I'd probably put Robbie Keane in terms of what I dare say about Roy Keane is hands down the better player, but in terms of what they've done at Celtic, I would hold Robbie Keane a bit higher than Roy.
I mean, guys, in the last 30 years of European football, Roy Keane is up there and probably one of the best players. I mean, he was unbelievable leader. You know, the famous game at Arsenal's old ground, you know, when he's pointing, we'll see when we go out in the park, and I think he scored 2 goals against Vieira. He just bossed the game. The semi-final against Juventus in '99, he got booked and he knew he wouldn't make the final, but he still put that aside to make sure his team got to the final. What a player he was. Young player at Nottingham Forest, and then Man United got him. He's one of the best players I think's been in Europe in the last 30 years. Yeah. We were lucky to have him.
Jed, was there a time would you have considered him as a manager of Celtic before?
Yes. There was, before Postecoglou and all that was coming, I was thinking, they're maybe going to take a punt with him because they're probably going down the line of, he's like an icon in the game. Can he attract players in? But the only thing with his manager, when you read some of the stories about him, is he expected players to do what he could do, and a lot of players are inferior. They couldn't do what he could do, and that's how he done well at Sunderland, but he struggled at Ipswich. So, we don't know if it would have been a good thing or not for him to come. I think fans would have accepted it, given him the chance, but he's such a perfectionist, I think, out in the park. I don't know how he would be. He would be looking at players and think, you're substandard, you shouldn't even be cleaning my boots. That would be the worry.
Yeah, no, I do agree with that. And I mean, for me, I don't think I ever did consider him as manager material, James, after what he'd done at Ipswich, I think, and then Sunderland didn't end well for him. And ever since that, he's been touting himself for jobs that no one's ever given the opportunity. I think the only reason why he gets linked is because of Dermot Desmond. I think they've got a close relationship. But like Jed said, there the uncertainty we had in the past. Maybe he could have come in and stepped into that void, but it's one of them ones I wouldn't have at Celtic as manager, regardless of what he'd done as a player. I think we see too many of these mistakes, the likes of Lampard, Gerrard to an extent, and they just don't quite cut it as a manager, in my opinion.
There's still probably a chance that he might come in the summer, but anyway.
Oh, jeez, don't say that.
I think for watching interviews kind of open goal and things like that, it's probably a wee bit similar to Di Canio and the way it comes across that he was a really, really good player, but when you're going to manage at a certain level, like you say, you're expecting the players at that level to be as good as you were. So it would be frustrating. I can totally understand that for that angle. But I wouldn't. I wouldn't have in the past, and I wouldn't entertain him as coming in as manager.
Yeah, no, we'll end it there. And Celtic are celebrating their Irish origins. There we go. But Jed, another piece of news came out last week that Alexander Burnaby was out the door, Internacional over in Brazil, on loan to the end of the year. I think we feuded a permanent contract, and he was due to leave. He missed his plane. That's Burnaby at Celtic, isn't it?
What? Where was it? It was out with a pint with ball and goalie.
If there's ever a thing to sum his time up, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, I know. Look, just put it down to just a bad experience and then move on.
Yeah, I think it has to be. I seen the headline today, James. There was someone put up he was trying to gate crash a party or something. I don't know how much that's true, but look, it could be all hearsay. But he did definitely miss it. He was due to be announced tonight and I think play in a game. Now he can't be registered until after the international break. So he's not going to make his debut for his club for another 2 to 3 weeks, and they wanted him as soon as possible. If you're going to make a first impression, don't fucking miss your plane.
The guy doesn't know if it's New York or New Year, man. He's even on the park, just absolutely all the place. I know that somebody, Stephen, thought he was maybe a ball away for getting an Argentina call up on it. So,
For the polo team.
Aye, played of the year this year. What else is there? I can't remember. Better than Greg Taylor. Else?
Did I say these things? Did I definitely didn't, but yeah.
That sounded like it to me. Nah, look,
the only thing
the guy was just terrible. I'm genuinely surprised he even got a move. If anything, I thought he'd maybe get back to his old club, but I'm surprised that.
In his defence, James, I don't think he was ever a defender. He wasn't a left back. He's more of a winger, I think, or a midfielder. He's certainly not good defensive quality.
I thought he was shite going forward or not.
The only thing I did say, which again I've mentioned it before, and I'll hold my hands up at the start of the season. Well, I'd done a podcast and I said Burnaby will be first choice by Christmas. Nope, he's missed his plane. So there we go. That sums him up. So it does. And I think as well, did you see the game between Hibs and Watch or whatever, Hibs and Rangers teams? Martin Boyle got injured, and I think the supporters of that club were shouting a certain, it's well documented what they were shouting in the stands. If anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, go searching on Twitter. There's audio and video footage of what they were saying. It's obviously a religious term directed mainly towards Irish people and people who support Celtic, so that kind of narrows it down for you. So, I mean, you look at it, James, and Hibs have come out and they've cut the allocation, I think, to us, to them, and a few other clubs have kept their derby allocation to Hearts. And basically it's on the agenda now because you've seen a lot of these meetings happening. I think the whole kind of culture now of ultras is really up and coming. You've got supporters now fighting each other. I've seen Dunfermline and Falkirk involved in street fights. I've seen St Mirren having a casual group, which I didn't even think they had enough supporters to do one. There's multiple clubs in Scottish football now are getting immersed in this casual ultra vibe with the element of violence. And now you see that Hibs have took action here and cut allocation because of that incident. That Martin Boyle obviously suffered a really serious injury, and it looked actually quite horrifying when you watch it back. He's recovering well with his family. But is it time now that you take into account that the shit that goes on in football stadiums needs to be stamped out? You look at ourselves, for example, against Sevco, Joe Hart with a bottle of Buckfast in his box. You look at the physio being attacked. You look at multiple occasions that never go punished. Ryan Kent punching Scott Brown that was brushed onto the carpet. These things need called out and need punished to the highest degree. I don't agree with violence, and look, I'm a big advocate of the Green Brigade. I love the pyrotechnics and all that type of stuff, but I don't agree with violence in football. I don't agree with going to a game and not coming home. So something needs to be done, and done quick. As I said, there's a lot of Scottish club going down the ultra vibe, and with the casuals involved in that as well.
Aye, that's it, mate. Like it or fucking lump it, it looks as if it's going to be here to stay. But in terms of obviously what happened, I had the game on in the background, and then I obviously I don't actually know how he got injured. I've not seen a replay. I don't know if it was a crash.
Smashed into him.
Oh, it looked a kind of weird because I don't think it was actual head to head. I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken, but aye. Look, in terms of obviously what was said, there appears to be a kind of a selective deafness across Scotland. I mean, they've seen you can watch a game and you can hear somebody for the crowd shouting out fucking pass it or whatever, and you'll get an apology for bad language or whatever. Look, obviously up here you kind of comes with the territory. You've got to have a bit of kind of thick skin, but as I say, it does just seem to a bit of kind of a selectiveness in what's going on. But in terms of reducing the allocation, I mean, you can understand it for the reasons that they've gave. Obviously, what happened with Boyle, and obviously if there's seats getting broken, stuff like that, then you can partially understand it. But and I understand that the supporters of these clubs, and look, branching out for Hibs, Hearts, Rangers, basically every club that's cut the allocation, I can understand why their supporters would be happy with that. In terms of maybe see it as getting maybe an advantage if they're no numbered away support. And fair enough, but I mean, if you look at it for the point of the league, see if they were cutting the allocation and they were actually filling their stadium.
That's a good point.
Fair enough, but look, I mean, the English, we all know their opinion of Scottish football, and we all kind of slag off the Sky deal and things like that. But let's see if you're sitting on, who is it tonight, Dundee and Aberdeen. If you, I don't know if it's on Sky to be fair, I'm just using an example. If you stick it on, you know you're going to get greeted with pretty much empty stands all around the stadium. You maybe have a wee section that's full, and it's just not a great advert. So if you're reducing the allocation and you're going to fill it out, then more power to you, good on you, fair play. But even at Tynecastle a couple of weeks ago, you could just pick out all the empty seats, and then behind the goals, the tickets obviously that they've sold that we would have normally had, it's still pretty empty. And I just think it is literally the definition of cutting your nose to spite your face. You're just bumping yourself out of money, and obviously maybe not this season, but by and large, you're not going to get a result anyway. So, as I say, from the supporters of the club's point of view, I can get it. But looking at the bigger picture in terms of it as a whole and the side of football, it just seems a bit daft.
See, I agree with that in an instance because, look, I think Hibs have used obviously the abuse that Boyle got to kind of put that cart over the line and cut the allocations, which is fair enough. It's their own prerogative to do so, Jed. And look, I'm not going to waver from my opinion where violence isn't involved in football. We've seen a lot of it recently in Scotland and vice versa, far across the football landscape. There's no place for it. But I agree with what James is saying in regards to if they're going to do this, then they should have people in ready to replace them seats that's going to be lost, and the away support, season books sold in that section of the ground. And look, you do tune into these games, and it is a poor advert for Scottish football when you see empty seats and we're trying to sell this game as top tier, a top Premiership level, when really, in a matter of fact, that majority of the clubs in the Scottish League can't fill 2 or 3 stands, never mind a whole stadium, which is quite frankly embarrassing in my opinion, especially when they're on primetime TV at like an 8 p.m. slot or whatever. But in regards to what Hibs done, Jed, I don't know if you've looked too much into it, and go back to it, that Martin Boyle received that abuse and the whole thing that was sang from the stands. Do you agree that sort of stuff has to be cut out of the football, and that sort of abuse that people do receive on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, it's certainly what do you want to do, the sectarian singing or whatever. It's coming back into the game a lot more. I mean, when Fergus McCann was in charge, he really tried to cut it out at Celtic Park as well, and he was successful. Where I'm a little bit angry about Hibs is their own fans at Tynecastle a couple of weeks ago throwing stuff on when Lawrence Shanklin was ready to take the penalty. I mean, it was like a corkscrew and stuff like that. Come on, there is no need for that. However, I know, speaking to a few, I was working in Edinburgh today, through in Edinburgh, and speaking to one of my customers, a Hibby, and he was telling me a lot of the Hibs fans group, they are not including us on this, and what the talk is they are not. Hibs ourselves is not including Celtic in getting their allocation. What they have said is they will look at certain games without coming out and saying what the games are. But what I was hearing today is that it is we should be okay. That may change, but we need to get our own house in order as well. If you look at at Motherwell, you've seen all the seats getting broken. Come on, guys. All that's going to do is eventually that is going to get our allocation cut. I mean, Aberdeen's cut our allocation now as well, done that a few seasons ago. Kilmarnock, we used to get the 2 stands behind the goals. We no longer get that. So you can see more and more crowds. I mean, the only ones, Dundee United gives us a good allocation. Livingston gives us a phenomenal allocation. Hearts, that's a joke. An absolute joke of an allocation they're giving us. And as James said, you're watching that game, and where Celtic fans would be, there's loads and loads of empty seats. So it's, but I do think our own fans need to stop wrecking. I'm not saying they do it everywhere, but there was a bit of damage done at Fir Park when we were last playing at Motherwell. Yeah,
no, again, 100%. I do agree that all aspects of it needs to be looked at and cut out in some shape or form, breaking seats and all that type of shit. There's no need for it. And I think you're right to point out that corkscrew. I think it was close to Shanklin, wasn't it? It was near the penalty spot. So
it coming moved.
Yeah. So again, that's disgraceful in its own kind of incident as well. That they ended called out for that. But look, see, while we're on the subject, we'll move to a wee bit of on this day to break away from the serious chat of violence and football. And in 1861, the 23rd Grand National, Joseph Kendall wins aboard Jealousy at 5-1. Now, James, you said you had it.
I think Jed was at school with that guy.
That was the jockey.
James, you said you had some success yesterday. Any tips?
Fucking don't listen to me, is my tip. Nah, Chianti Classico yesterday. That's paid for my week at Cheltenham. I'm going out on Friday as well for the Gold Cup, so that's all paid for with that, and it'll maybe pay for the Peter Lobel seated driveway with my Irish Origins tap. So that was my bet at Cheltenham.
Do you do any bet in the Cheltenham, Jed?
I don't bet. Once in a blue moon, I'll have a bet.
Same.
I mean,
don't either.
I Talk Sport today, driving about and listening to the races and things like that. But no, I've been to one race meeting. I went to the Chester meeting. I think theirs is a Gold Cup or whatever it was, and it was like a VIP area. So I actually never seen a race. The only I seen it on the TVs inside the hospitality, but I never physically seen a race. It's just
same. I've never been to a horse racing event either. To be fair, do you know what I mean? But in 1875, English FA Cup final, Kennington Oval, London, Royal Engineers and Old Etonians draw 1-1. Replay won by Engineers 2-0. Like teams you never ever hear of in your life. It's mental the things that happened back then. And see as well, I mean, obviously the double pivot takes different avenues there. The Champions League is back in force. I think there's teams like City, Arsenal, Bayern are all through to the quarterfinals. Arsenal scraped through last night with a penalty win against Porto. I think their keeper Raya pulled off a couple of good saves in the penalty shootout. Who do you think, or who would you want if you have a preference to win the Champions League this year?
Man City.
Man City. Do you think they're just favourites, or is it a preference of yourself?
I think they're favourites. It's either them or Real Madrid. I personally don't want Arsenal. I was actually hoping Arsenal were going to get put out last night. They didn't. I can't take to Arteta. I just can't take to him. So when he's in charge of that team, I want them beat. It's as simple as that.
Michael Arteta, yeah.
Very, very petty, but I just don't. I don't enjoy it. And
I think there's
people are saying, they're going to win the league this season as well. I still think it'll be Man City or Liverpool. It's going to win the league down there as well. I think Arsenal won't beat City up in Manchester, and I think Spurs will take points off them as well. I mean, Spurs love, man. You imagine them, that'd be like winning the league themselves. They can stop Arsenal from doing it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of Celtic fans with that outlook on Mikel Arteta, James, in terms of where he was before, and people just can't quite take him. I don't know if it's personality or character, but look, I think for myself, I can't see past Real Madrid in terms of, I know the Barcelona got through against Napoli, didn't they? So they're even in with a shout, and they're having another power season by all accounts under Xavi, and he's leaving at the end of the season. But where would you kind of lean towards? I mean, you've got a couple of bets that come up for you. If you were a betting man and someone said, look, pick one with your death row meal, who are you picking to win the Champions League?
I think Man City will win the Premier League and the Champions League until they get fed up or until Pep leaves. I just think they're that far in front at everybody they know. Real Madrid always turn it on in the Champions League, but I don't think they're having a great season domestically. And apart from that, I don't really think there's anybody else that will get near them. Arsenal, they'll smell the glove getting you a wee tip and offer, Cheltenham. Arsenal, the Arteta thing, it's not even the fact that he used to play with Rangers or anything. I watched that Arsenal documentary thing on Amazon. I don't know if any of you've seen it. And it was the team talk he's got one with a light bulb. He gets them all crowded round, he's storming with a light bulb, and it's like no plugged in anywhere. And he's like, we need to play with passion and this, that, and the next thing. And then he plugs
more footwork, more energy, more passion.
And then it lights up, and he's like, this is what we need. This is a spark. And you're like, oh, for fuck's sake. And then the next one,
you'll never walk alone.
The training ground,
that's why I don't want them to win.
That guy will never win anything.
It's not because
my bet.
He played for Rangers.
Aye, and then his cartoon heart and his cartoon brain that he drew on his whiteboard, his flip chart thing. No, that guy's not winning anything. I think honestly they could go 30 points clear of Man City with 9 games left, and I'd still back Man City to win the league. But in terms of the Champions League, I honestly don't really see anybody challenging Man City. As I say,
Madrid experience, know-how. You can't look past them. I don't think.
I agree with that. In the Champions League, but I just think Man City's got that now. Obviously, reigning champions as well.
See, two seasons ago, when I think it was Real Madrid beat Man City in the semi-final, Man City actually gave them a football lesson over the 2 games, and how they never got through in that game, I'll never know. I just think Pep has still got a few points to prove. So that's why I think they'll do it this season.
Can I just join in with Kieran and Smell the Glove? Smell the Gloves went for Dusty Rug because it's never been beaten, and Kieran's went for V-neck because it's some jumper in the horses. So I'll go for Ron sealing the Gold Cup because it's great over fences.
And then can I just point out as well, Monty's come in. I will sing Irish Republican songs of freedom until my last breath. Look, I wasn't talking about things like that. I'm talking about violence within football. So feel free to do what you want, sing what you want. I'm all for it. Do you know what I mean? But look, that brings us to the end of the double pivot. And people were saying in the comments, why am I always doing English football oriented questions and kind of football quizzes? Because it's the most kind of quizzes I can find online in a short amount of time. But I've managed to find a Scottish one between Jed and James that we can do now. Have a wee bit of fun. As always, first to 5 or first to 3, just best out of 5. Are you ready?
Yep.
Oh shit, it went off my screen. Right, so question 1. Let's see. Which of Lee's Scottish League grounds is furthest north? Arbroath, Brecon City, Forfar Athletic, or Montrose?
It's Montrose.
Go ahead, James. What are you picking?
I'd say Montrose as well.
It's Montrose.
Nope. Brecon City. Brecon. Right. Question 2. Who was the last team to win the Scottish Junior Cup that wasn't Auchinleck Talbot, Pollock, Hereford United, Glenafton Athletic, or Musselburgh Athletic?
Linlithgow Rose.
That wasn't even named, but
No.
go ahead, Jed.
Don't say it.
All right, is that all right?
No. What was the first team you said after Auchinleck?
So, Pollock, Hereford United, Glenafton Athletic, or Musselburgh Athletic?
Glenafton.
James, what are you going for?
What's the question? Did you know just
So,
say the
who
last
was the last team to win the Scottish? No. Who was the last team to win the Scottish Junior Cup that wasn't Auchinleck Talbot?
Right, that's the question, and then the rest was the answers. Right,
Yeah.
I just took it as one question. I don't even know what you said. I'll go with the first one after Auchinleck Talbot.
Right, Jed gets it. It was Glenafton Athletic that won it.
Even just to let you know, my home village where I was brought up has won the Scottish Junior Cup.
Where were you brought up, Jed?
Malthouse.
No. Have they won it? Malthouse?
Yeah, back 80 years ago or something like that. Yeah.
I mean, I asked you that, I should know. And you are from Malthouse, like.
I was up there the weekend, but I don't live there.
Aye, yeah. Question 3, so it's 1-0 to Jed. Which of Lee's players made their senior Scotland debut first? David Weir, Craig Burley, Colin Hendry, or Paul Lambert?
Colin Hendry.
Over to you, Jed.
Paul Lambert.
Colin Hendry, it's 1 each. Great shout by James. Question 4. No, sorry. Aye. Who did Rangers beat in the quarterfinals of the AFA Cup in 2008 when they made it to the final? Sporting Lisbon, Werder Bremen, Florentina, or Panathinaikos?
Sporting Lisbon.
Sporting Lisbon.
Right, I'll go 2 each then, because you've both got that right. That's fair. And then I'll come to each individually next, because if I feel like shouting out kind of you give it away sometimes, right? Here we go. Question 5. Who did Andy Robertson make his senior Scotland debut against? Czech Republic, Poland, England, or Norway? Jed, I'll start with you first.
Czech Republic.
James?
I want to say Czech Republic as well, because it feels as if we play them every 2 weeks, but I'll say Norway instead.
Both wrong. It was Poland. So basically, next one to get a question right wins it, by the way, because it'll be 3-2. So question 6. What was the name of the fictional Scottish football team in the film A Shot of Glory? Inverleigh FC, Greendale Thistle, Earls Park, or Knockey FC?
Never seen it.
Jed, I'll start with you.
Knockey FC.
James?
Greendale.
Jed wins it. Did you know that, Jed? Have you seen that film?
No, I was actually. No, I haven't. Is that the one Alan McCoy said?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jesus. It doesn't give me that detail. It gives me the question and answer.
It is.
So, yeah. And again, Jed wins that one 3-2. A Scottish football quiz. Who would have thought it? But I do want to make people aware. The SPFL predictions, look, I didn't have time to get everything scored today. I've been flat out. What I will do... Go ahead, sorry.
Question, and it is.
Go.
It's English based. Who was the first £1 million goalkeeper in England? And I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll tell you the team that sold him. Bristol Rovers sold him, and he went to Crystal Palace. See,
what year?
It is the early 90s, I believe.
Fuck, mate.
Just see if any of the viewers know what it is without Googling.
So repeat your question again, so I can.
Who was the first £1 million goalkeeper in England or the UK?
Right. I'll let that fester, and I'll come back to it. People in the comments here as well to get involved, because I have no idea yet. But I do want to make people aware about the SPFL score predictions. What I'm going to do, I'm going to post them up on our Twitter and Instagram so people can see them. And just to let people aware that the table is as follows going into this weekend. It is James on 52, McGinty 47, Ross 47, myself 42, Gav 41, Willie 38, Franny 30, Anthony Dunn 28, and Jed, you're in last at 27. Come on, you need to do something here. Smell the glove. £100 a head.
Aye,
Was it Peter Shilton?
No.
Woods?
No, and he was an England goalkeeper. Didn't get loads of caps.
Chris Woods? No.
No.
Nah, the lizard guy, whoever is. Strange Love the Doctor, the lizard guy. Does that ring a bell?
No, that doesn't ring a bell to me.
No. James, have you any idea who this could be before we wrap up?
Not a clue, mate. No idea at all.
Nah. Go, Jed. You're going to have to give up the ghost.
It was Nigel Martin. I
No
think he
idea.
had about 3 or 4 caps for England as well. He was the first £1 million goalkeeper.
Smell the glove. Was it Goldson? But look, on that note, lads, the double pivot, I've really enjoyed it. Have you enjoyed it?
Yep.
Aye, good laugh.
Big good crack. And we'll be back Friday again with the Friday team. I'm sure there'll be a few beers and that involved. And I'll get these score predictions up on social media tomorrow so people can see them looking into the weekend, and also the updated table for the next double pivot show, which will be next week. So until then, everybody, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.